Mm.
Wonderful. Hello, Elliot. Doing the both hand, I see. Glad to have you here.
Mm.
Katie. Hello, sister.
Aaron says, my email went into my junk folder for today's link. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does that, especially if people have a Gmail account. Gmail is just really aggressive with throwing things either in the junk folder or their promotion folder. Yeah, Anthony's like, no kidding. Yeah, it's just.
Hey everybody, can I say something really quickly?
Please, Elliot.
This is Elliot. So I'm just so excited to be here today, and thank you for the invitation. I was out in Sedona last year. It was November, and I had a session with Chess. And Chess, you and I have not connected since then, and that's on me. But I got to tell you, my journey since that time has been life-changing. The experience I had with you, it awakened and enlightened me in ways that I didn't even know was possible. And I'm just so eternally grateful to you. And Jamie, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I'm just excited to continue on this journey. And I just want to say thank you, brother. You did something for me that my soul is just so happy about. So thank you so much.
Oh, brother, thank you, man. Thank you. Oh, you just opened up my heart, brother. Thank you. Yeah. Oh. Phew. I remember our time, Elliot. It's because, you remember those times when there's that ripeness, when you're meeting with anybody who's just in that space of saying, yes, yes, yes. The veil is so thin, that it's like it's two souls just talking to each other, and so much less of the noise of the egoic identity getting in the way. It's just two souls saying, yeah, can we do this dance? Can we do this dance of life? Yeah, beautiful. We'll give it another 2 minutes and then we'll open it up. Oh, that's beautiful. Good thing I'm not wearing mascara. Give it one more minute. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, and thank you, everyone, for being on time. And I'm just going to be gracious to the people who are space to come on in. And I know a lot of people they register because they want the recording. They know they can't make it. They're like, look, I work, I got a job, I've got 17 kids or something, and so they realize they're going to have to listen to this webinar at a time that's more convenient for them. I'm going to bring down the music. Stopped it rather abruptly.
It goes from low to off.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's begin. Hello, everybody. By the way, as my little dinger goes off, let's all be reminded to put our phones and devices into do not disturb. Because I hadn't. So welcome, everyone. Really, really, really good to have you all here. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Jess. This is so exciting.
Yeah.
I love seeing new faces. I love seeing familiar faces. And I love that we're all here in service to this space. So thank you, all of you, to whom I know and to whom I haven't met. Thank you for being here and for bringing yourself here this morning with us. It's my honor. It's our honor to be here. So thank you. Mm-hmm.
Jamie and I have had a lot of fun putting this whole thing together, because we kept getting really excited over and over again as we looked at the content of what we wanted to speak about today, that the recognition through our own struggles and through working with so many people over decades of time, of recognizing there's some fundamentals that really can't be avoided. We often want to. They're inconvenient at times, but we kept coming to the place of, these core fundamentals are so delicious, they're so luscious, and they really allow us to live in our, what I call our full dimensionality. It's that recognition that we are so much more than our limited stories. And that's for me what's the most exciting thing about this, is the opportunity today, what Jamie and I are going to be speaking to and inviting you to speak to as well, is a real exploration, is looking at what are the ways in our lives that we can explore deeper into all the different dynamics of who we are as human spiritual beings. It's looking at the self, both as the personal self, the egoic self, the story of self, all the things that have gone into creating the idea of self that we have. I'm worthy, I'm unworthy, I'm lovable, I'm not lovable, I'm valuable, I'm not. All the conditioning, the programming. How do we attend to knowing thyself? This is the core. This is what Jamie and I kept coming to. Know thyself in your full complexity, your personal self, the story of self, everything that's gone into your idea of self. And then, so that's personal self or self-awareness, to be aware of everything that has contributed to that self. And then the self-realization, to realize that there's another self beyond that temporary personal self. Ooh, wait a minute, there's another self. There's an eternal self, an authentic self, a whole self, a divine self, an essential self, an authentic self. And when we really start to explore into that while doing our work on the construct of self we've created that needs some work, that's the beautiful blend. So that's part of why I'm excited to be here today, is to help look at what are the fundamentals of attending to know thyself, to knowing ourselves fully. And I know Jamie's got some ideas around why you're excited to be here too.
Really, to echo what you say about a distinction. What is the voice that was given to me, and what is the voice that is eternally mine? How do you know that difference? How do you know the difference between intuition and fear? How do you know what is true about you and what was constructed by you? These are the questions that kept me in my prison most of my life. And they're also the questions that freed me. And so what gets me elated to bring this to this space today is, where are the tools that will take me from not knowing who I am to knowing who I am? What are the tools that are going to be time tested? The principles that are universal. It doesn't matter where you come from, what culture you're born into, what you've gone through in your life. What is the pathway as a spiritual being living this human curriculum? Because to me, it's a curriculum. And it actually is an empowering belief for me to understand that I'm in a school here. Because now things start to have purpose where I may not have found purpose before. And this is so exciting because if I knew that there was a path that I could walk down, that it would be a promise for freedom. It'd be a promise that I could know something in this pathway. I would want to walk down it. And I would want to be told that there is one path. I would want to be told, and there are many, many paths, but I would want to be given something like this. Yeah. And I'd want to be given it 15 years ago. That's why I'm excited.
Anthony says, yes, it's a human school. This life is a required course. You know, Ram Dass is very important to both Jamie and I, and so many. He says, everything on your plate is the stuff of your enlightenment. Mm-hmm. From the soul perspective, everything. There's not a thing, there's not a morsel, there's not a crumb of experience that isn't valuable to our enlightenment. And the enlightenment is to know ourselves, our most essential nature as love, unconditional love awareness. And you know, that the opportunity, I take it to the extreme. What if in this life, every breath is an opportunity to see if I can love deeper? Mm. Why not? Why not? Well, because I'll fail at it a lot? Well, yeah. But that doesn't mean that it isn't maybe a worthy goal that I will never reach, to have every moment be a moment that is just steeped in love. But if I put it out there, then, and we'll talk about devotion today, then it really, it gives me a sense of seeing where I'm straying from that and how I can come back to it. So today, we're going to be talking about 8 fundamentals, 8 core fundamentals. Let's be clear. Are there just 8? We could have advertised this as the 8 core fundamentals. We took off the word "the" because we're just going to go over 8 out of, 1,000. And any one of them that we talk about today, we could talk about for days and days, but we're going to just take about 10 minutes each to go over this. But we want to introduce ourselves first, give you a little bit of sense of who we are, why we do this work, and how we came to this work. And Jamie, do you want to start, or do you want me to jump in?
You can jump in, Chess.
Okay. So my work is primarily that my work is my love. My love is my work. And it is to help people to really transcend the egoic story of self, the limited idea of self, and be rested in and embodied in their wholeness, in their divinity. I've come to recognize in this work that the core wound for all of us, from my perspective, was the disconnection from our divine truth. Whether it came through trauma, neglect, betrayal, abuse, whatever, just storylines that in our household that were of the more of egoic perspective, let's say. It doesn't have to be majorly traumatic. But basically, our forgetting of our truth was the core wound. So everything I do is to help people to remember who they are in their full dimensionality and be able to rest in that grace so they can listen to their own soul, so they can listen to their actual soul desires. I've gone through many iterations of my life. I'm not going to go through it all, but suffice it to say that I've been working as a guide to help guide people to beautiful places my entire life. From adventure travel for 20, 30 years, leading Himalayan treks and all sorts of trips around the world. Now I do the same thing. I take people to the most beautiful places I've ever found. And it just happens to be that's here. That's right here. That's the heart. That's the wholeness. That's our true being. So that's what I do. I use modalities of meditation, self-realization, teachings of non-duality and self-realization, work, plant medicine, and other psychedelics, all modalities and meditation, all modalities that are designed to drop us out of the story and give us access to a wisdom, a wholeness that's already there, and simply waiting for us to stop being so confused by or distracted by our thoughts and our mind. So those are the modalities I use in this work. That's how Jamie and I really met. We knew each other a little bit before, but we both are now certified coaches in leading psychedelic and plant medicine journeys and integrations and coaching. That's where we met. And later on today, at the end of the webinar, we'll be letting you know about a year-long program that we've got coming up that encompasses 4 retreats here in Sedona, and the centerpiece of each retreat is a psychedelic plant medicine journey. So we're going to be introducing you to that opportunity at the end of the webinar. So that's what I do, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Ches, so much. I feel like that was a 5-minute window into a 5,000 long page understanding of who you are, because of how much I've come to experience the magic that you are. And you're pure love, you're pure magic, and you come wrapped in my kind of humor. which is important, I think, in this work, is to have any unnecessary sense of humor about who it is that we are as people. And so just thank you so much for being you, for making a difference for even the people here. Just thank you. Man, to say what I do is to actually symbiotically say who I be. I don't really approach what I do as my work. It is my purpose. It is my mission. I have what would be considered a vocation that I don't need a vacation from. And for me, my entire purpose is to master the mind. It was where the source of my suffering came from. It was the key to my own freedom, was to understand my mind. And in understanding my mind, I understood my emotions, the mind-body connection, and ultimately how my spirit was overseeing all of it. I come from a history of chronic physical disease, mental rumination, 15 years of depression, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, you name it. If you call it a dysfunction, it was mine. Addiction, codependency. I lived the life of what I would consider not knowing who I was. And in that, I would find my personal freedom through studying the mind. And so what I offer to people is educating and giving them the understanding of how their mind and their emotions and their body work together. As a mental and emotional wellness specialist, I also teach visionaries and I mentor visionaries. It is my deepest place in my heart to be able to see people living what they're made for.
Yay.
Living in what they're made for, whatever they're made for. It is my passionate desire to see people get aligned with that mission and be exactly who they were called and divinely appointed to be. And so that is my mission right there. And whether it's through all of the different modalities, I won't go down the list because there's been like 30 at this point, including psychedelics, has been part of my journey as well. But to say that it was just psychedelics would be to say that it was just breath work or just NLP or just anything. And it's always the combination of all these things that it's a promise that at the end there's freedom. And so what I want you guys, especially in this segment right here, to ask yourself is, what do I want out of this today? What do I want in this moment of my life? I chose to come here to this space. Why? Why am I here? What is pressing in my life? What is the request being made in my life? And why did I decide here was where I was going to spend my time today? Because our time is the greatest currency that we have as humans. And how we use it is always our sovereign right, how we use our time.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. Mm-hmm.
If people would be interested in and willing to pop into the chat, part of what do you want? What do you want? And thank you, Jamie, for reminding me to mention the struggle. Most of my life, I lived in a deep, deep state of anxiety, of not knowing if I fit, not knowing my worth, not only not knowing it, questioning it deeply, questioning my place in the world. I grew up in a Hollywood family. I was surrounded by the model, by the messaging that said, if others do not approve of you, you're screwed. You do not exist. You do not matter. You have no value. Your value is only whether or not others approve of you or not. And you better shapeshift to get their approval. So I had to work through that. And and I started doing a lot of personal development work, studying the same thing as Jamie, studying the mind, studying how my mind got put together, what were all the components that went into creating my crappy story. That only got me so far. It was when I started to find teachers that were teaching non-duality, self-realization. Who are you really? This is a temporary vehicle with a temporary story. When that is done, will I still exist? And if so, what is that? It's what I call the God soul dance. And it wasn't until that started to open up that everything started to stabilize. It took a while. We'll talk about that. That's our first thing we're going to talk about today is patience. But that was part of my journey as well. So just know that there's a deep, deep, deep peace in life now, and it has been hard won, and it's possible for everybody. A lot of people will look at people, of guides and such and say, well, yeah, but you've always been this way. No, not even close. So what do you want? I see freedom, liberation from all programming, to matter my mind and to be happy to live my work. Yes. Yeah. I want to be partner in the healing of others while I am healing myself. Absolutely. That dance.
Mm-hmm. Flexibility, ability to release habits. Ooh, I like the releasing habits. Live more with love and compassion. Oof. Yeah. Lives that I'm leading right now. Ooh.
Which is what we are. We are love and compassion, but we just don't know it. We're in a deep, deep dream of self. Part of the reason we're doing this is because Jamie said she likes to work with visionaries. It's a real passion. Change makers, radical change makers, people who are really living at their edges. And I want to invite that. There's that idea that we grow from our edges, and our edges are uncomfortable. We move from what is comfortable past an edge to what is unknown and uncomfortable, where I'm not good at this yet. I'm just really, this is where I'm good at life, even if it's not serving me well. I've practiced at it. So I want to invite, if you were to meet your edges and expand from your edges, what's that possibility? What does that look like on the other side? A phrase came to me years ago in Bali, and I didn't understand it until 2 months ago when it came back to me. This is like 10 years ago. And the phrase was, life will meet us at the edge of our heart's imagination. Life will meet us at the edge of our heart's imagination. The heart is imagining big, and the mind is going, whoa, slow down. Hold on. There's threats, there's fear, there's doubts, there's uncertainty, there's the story. The heart doesn't have the story. The heart is just trying to live in its full expression, and it meets the limiting story of mind. So again, what do you want? What's possible for you? Oh, and the reason I brought that up is because when we are working to really expand our lives and step into something big, which is our wholeness, our truth, man, our stories are going to get really activated. It's when we're really pushing our edges that we meet the stuff that needs to be healed, needs to be loved, needs to be let go, needs to be transcended. It's dormant a lot of the times if we're not pushing our edges, but when we're really asking ourselves for something bigger, that's when that storyline's going to pop up and go, look, I've been quiet till now, but now you're just being stupid. You're out there trying to be big and trying to be somebody. And well, of course, in this work, it's to be not somebody, but that's an esoteric thing. So that's the opportunity today. Is
Leslie,
to meet.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that Leslie put in, did you see what she wrote?
No, go for it.
She said, tap into the next level of how to guide others to healing and to finding their true selves and helping create a new earth.
Mm. Okay. How can I jar? Is it jar? I don't. I used to be able to pretend I could see without my glasses. I can't anymore. All right. How can I access this recording? Okay. Anybody who, if you ever need to step away, anybody who's registered is going to get a link to the recording of the webinar. Okay. Absolutely. To be the most kindest, most compassionate, fearless person I can be, and then help others to do the same. Karen, beautiful. All right, well then let's jump in. Let's jump in. This is some of why you're here. So, 8 core foundations, not the 8, but just 8. And the top one, the one that I finally every client I work with, Elliot is on here, and he and I work together. And I'd imagine I spoke to you about this, Elliot. Patience. This is a core foundational necessity. Patience. We live in a world that is pressing us to do more, to be more, to catch up, to not get left behind. Other people are succeeding. Why are they succeeding? I should be succeeding. And we do ourselves a great disservice when we compare our insides to other people's outsides. This patience is the ability to let our lives mature. Let our work evolve. And as our work evolves, it will evolve us. As our work evolves, it'll evolve us. We have to give it that space. Brian Smith, the originator of Ugg boots in Australia, is a friend of mine down in San Diego, and he has subsequently sold Ugg boots, but now he's a speaker out on the speaking tour, speaking about how to build businesses. And he has this beautiful phrase that says, you cannot give birth to an adult. You can't. Anything that you give birth to, it has to go through its childhood, then through its adolescence, clumsy, confused, make mistakes, make stupid decisions, hopefully survive, and then move into adulthood, and then all the different stages of adulthood, of maturing and growing. They said the first 50 years of childhood are the hardest. So, patience. And the last thing I'll say about patience, and I'll let Jamie jump in here, is that's in regards to developing our work, our way of being in the world, letting something mature, letting it inform us. We have an idea of what we want to do, and then it says, yeah, sit with that for a little while, and most likely it's going to change 2 months later, 3 months later, a year later. Give things space. And then with ourselves, the truth is self-realization, to be embodied, to be embraced, to be rested in the true grace of who we are, to be out of this dream of self, to be not so asleep in the constructed self. about 5 to 10 years. It just does. A consistent devotion. It just does. Not for everybody, but it's very rare that anybody's going to pop open and stay awake. You'll hear people, oh, I remember when I had my awakening 5 years ago. And it's like, stay with it. Stay with it. Let it keep maturing and opening and expanding. One of my teachers, Adyashanti, came from a Zen background. And he said, yeah, once you're even on the path with real clarity, 5 to 10 years. And we all, as students, groaned. And he said, oh, and by the way, that's living in a Zen community doing this 24/7. And we all wanted to start throwing rocks at him. And he said, all right, a bit of hyperbole there, but I'm pointing to the fact that this requires patience and presence and faith. I'll offer that into the space today.
Thank you for saying patience with faith. I do subscribe to that. Those two must go together. They must. Because there's the question, what am I having patience for? Why? Why bother? Well, with faith, then I know what I'm having patience for. I have faith in the outcome. I have faith in what's to come. I have faith in who I'm becoming. And without faith, even in the process itself, sometimes my patience, I don't know where to employ it. I don't know where to put it and why it even matters. And like the little kid that I am, and like the adult tantrum that I throw, I want to throw up my hands and I go, well, what the F? Why bother? Because this feels overwhelming and this feels stupid. So then when I remember, oh, wait, what would faith say right now? Well, faith would say, hang out for a while. Faith would say, try looking a different way at what's happening. Okay, I can hang out here for a while. In this world, in this particular society, we subscribe to hustle and go and results and do it now, and we must have it tomorrow. And part of the way that I've noticed that we outline success is, why don't you have it? And why don't you have it now? And yet in our own internal evolution, what happens if the success that I was currently manifesting is actually not for me? What happens if it was something that I borrowed from my mom, or I borrowed from a teacher, or I borrowed from somebody that said, oh, that looks like a good life. I think I'd like to go live that life. So in that soul evolution here, I must be willing to see 100 incarnations of myself. I must be willing to ask myself, well, what if this wasn't it? And that takes tremendous amounts of patience and faith. Because I don't know about you guys, but I've had like 100 ideas in the last year. And how many of you have had an idea earlier in your life that was so big and you were like so excited about it, and you saw the whole vision and you saw the people there and you were terrified to put anything to it, and you said, in your mind, not your heart, your mind was like, yeah, screw it. But then somebody else went and did it. Anybody else see that? Like, oh my God, I had an idea and it wasn't mine. But then all of a sudden you see somebody else go do it. That right there can sometimes trick us. It can offer a deception to say, go faster. Well, I need to act on every idea. Do we? Do we need to act on every idea? Or did you know that you have access to a plethora in the infinite space of intelligence? Did you know that you will always have ideas? The only question is, am I patient enough to know which one's mine to bring out into this world?
And when?
And when? Because timing matters. And I don't want timing to matter in this space because I've got SMART goals. And according to my SMART goals, we need to have this done by 6 months. Well, what happens if life impacts you within those 6 months? Then what? Are you a failure because you adjusted, because you adapted, because you found out that it's probably not what you want? Then what? So we got to have patience to hang out.
And as you evolve your work is evolving you. It's this interesting dynamic that as you change, as you grow, as again, coming into this full self-knowing of who you are, because then you start to build a life around who you are. See, our early parts of our lives were built around our egoic identity primarily, and our conditioning and programming and conditions we were born into and that were handed to us, our religion, the structures of life, our culture. And as we mature, a lot of that order falls into disorder. And it's freaky as hell when our entire world of, relationships end and work changes and things fall apart. The gift is that when the order falls into disorder, we have the opportunity to consciously reorder our lives around who we actually are. And as that truth matures and changes and deepens and shapes itself, we're going to find that how we're offering ourselves into the world is going to change rapidly. Jamie and I have talked about this. One of the big struggles that a lot of us face is, how do I keep up with this incredible, transformation that just won't stop? It just keeps happening. And I think I've got it together. And then a month later, I'm going, oh, no, scrap that, because I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that self. So we're going to move on in a moment, but that's patience. Please give yourself the patience and recognize that it's okay. It's okay to be wherever you are in the journey, wholly, presently, and with faith. And if you try to rush it, it's like a 13-year-old telling you, oh, I've got it all figured out. And you're looking at the 13-year-old going, no, you so don't. Allow ourselves to go through the childhood, the adolescence, and the adulthood of our projects and our own regrowth, reemergence into who we are.
And thank you for saying the reemergence, because as adults, we're totally convinced that we're grown up.
Yeah.
And we're convinced that we ought to have it all together, even though really this is a soul experience. At what point, who said we have to have it all together? Where did we get that?
Oh, everyone says that. Everyone,
right.
Everything.
Everyone said that. I don't know how well that's working for us when we have a crisis in the middle.
Does anyone want to chime in? Does anyone want to take a moment? Raise your hand if you do, just to give your reflection on where patience either has or been of value to you or could be of value to you in your own life. It's a nice thing to be able to share into a group, into a community, because whatever we share, guaranteed other people are going, yeah, I'm glad somebody said that, because me too. Yeah. Sherry. So let's see if I know how to do this.
Sherry,
so you can unmute Sherry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi.
Hey, I'll try to put the camera on too.
Just a real quick.
Sorry.
And I'm just reminding us all of timing of a nice, quick share.
Yep.
Right.
I've been waiting for a dream of my heart for the last probably 30 years, and listening to you is kind of reviving my hope in that again.
What dimmed it?
My spouse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Delays.
And then what within you dimmed it?
Commitment, maybe loyalty. Keep believing that next year it would happen, and next year it would happen, and
We're going to talk about devotion today. You might find a lot of value in that one as well. And Sherry, does it feel like now, all right, doesn't want to be birthed?
yeah, I still want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's finding the way through any obstacle, yes?
Yeah, I feel like I am finding my way through it. And patience is very important to that, because I've been a very impatient person most of my life. And tolerance is another thing that comes up a lot for me.
Mm-hmm. The last question I ask you around patience is, when you check in with yourself right now and you feel the value of patience, the warmth of patience, the spaciousness of patience, what opens up? What becomes available to you that is not as available when you're impatient?
Oh, the faith and the hope, and just what you said of what you were both saying about just being at peace with where you are right now. And it's all a part of the journey, and there's something bigger than me that's ultimately in control.
Hmm.
And it's
Beautiful.
not it hasn't happened yet because it's not the right time, and it will in its own way manifest.
Yeah, with your participation.
Yes, because yes, a big part of it is just me being very passive and letting each year go by. It happened so fast. Oh my gosh.
This is Jamie's area of expertise.
Oh,
These
wonderful.
areas, yeah.
Sherry, I think if I could add to your hope, what is yours, what is truly yours, will never leave you. What is truly meant to be manifested through you will be. And so part of that hope and part of that faith is that what's in your heart, if it's truly yours, it's not going to leave you. It will only get louder, whether it's 30 years or 60 years. And it's yours.
And I love that you said that, because I have told or asked God and had my discussions many times and said, I'm giving this up. I'm willing to give this up if that's meant to be. And it's still there.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
what
It won't go away.
it won't go away. And to what Chess said, when we go from passive to active participation, even if we don't know where to go, if I take just the next step, whatever that is, God will give me the second right after it. So I don't have to have it all figured out. I never have to have it figured out. I just have to say yes to what's next.
Love that. I'm going to write that down.
There you go. Beautiful. Thank you, Sherry.
Sherry. Oh, this is
Okay.
great. Thank you so much for that. Because and it's never, it's never a coincidence. Nothing is coincidence. If you subscribe to that, some people do. But the next one, the next principle is in reference. So even to what Sherry was talking about, which is study, the principle of study. I refer to that as actually the principle of mastery. So the second principle we're going to talk about is study and what it means to be a student, but a student to what? Chess and I, especially in this work, we recognize that we're really students to us. ourselves. When you become a student to you, the things that you want to pursue in life, they come easier because you understand how to use and employ what's in you in those pursuits. We take the external to internal path rather than the internal to external path. And that's what often gets us a little confused. When I'm offered the next course or the next training, or how to market better, or how to sales, or the 5 steps to your dream relationship, whatever it is, I'm constantly looking for the external thing to validate what I internally lack. I hope that lands for some people, because we've got this backwards. If I become a master of myself, and I really understand, how does this crazy thing work? And why do I keep saying this but doing that? And why do I not give in to that craving, but I give in to that craving? And why do I keep going back to my ex when I know he's terrible for me? And why do I keep doing this when I want to do that? If I know myself, those alleviate when I get to understand how to work with my machinery. And so when we study, we're not talking about information junkie. I was anybody relate to this? I was a transformational junkie. I would go from one training to another training to the next training to the next training. I was like, yeah. I was like, bring me the information. Yum, 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 yum. And I would digest 5%. I would do that. I would digest 5%. I would read the next book. I would go from book to podcast to podcast. I'm like, somebody give me the answers. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And I would digest 5%.
And that's not study, that's skimming.
And that's skimming. Right, that's skimming. And my coach one day interrupted me a couple of years ago, and he goes, this is what I want you to do. I want you to read 1 page out of that book every day. And I want you to read the same page for a full week. And I was like, why? Why would I do that? Why? That's a waste. I already got the information. I already got the information. He goes, do you? And by the end of that week, it changed my entire paradigm of what mastery is. Mastery marinates instead of consumes. It marinates on even the simplest, most commonly talked about idea. And I got to wonder why it's so commonly talked about. What do I not know about this simple concept that I've heard for 40 years? What do I not know about it? Because it seems to pop up over and over and over again. Am I willing to sit and study myself? Am I willing to learn the skill set of my mind? Am I willing to learn about how the mind works with the body? What do I not know? Am I willing to hyper immerse myself? Not dabble, not do this thing on Sundays. I heard that the other day. It was, relationship with God is not church on Sundays. It's in the shower. I was like, right. It's always. Always. And is my mastery an always or a some days? Am I only journaling when I get reminded? Or am I journaling like my life depends on it? Am I studying myself like the next 3 years of my life will be the outcome of this 1 week of my life? Do I treat it like that? Or am I going, you know what? I'm going to wait until next month when I go to that retreat, then I'll start. I will start after that training. I will start after this. No, start now. Decide now. Make a commitment now. Not perfection. Careful. Study is not perfection. It is excellence. And there is a difference. It is the pursuit of something in such a way that you understand its importance is equal to what your goals are, if not more. If I don't study myself, and if I don't make that the number one priority, then I will get to that moment like Chess was talking about a while ago, when I dream up something so big and all of the bullshit, excuse me, but not sorry, because it is. All of that bullshit comes up and says, you don't deserve that big thing. What do I do in that moment? Because that voice is loud.
Yeah.
Yes.
Study that voice. Study that voice.
Please add, Chess, because I know you got
this is yeah. I have just a little bit to add to this. There's a beautiful quote by Rumi, the poet Rumi, Persian, who said, "Your task is not to seek for love. Your task is to seek for and find within you all the barriers you have built against it." Radical self-honesty, radical self-honesty, not, well, it was this and it was that, and we'll see. And what's going on? What are you meeting? What are the barriers? I'll recommend a book called The Presence Process by Michael Brown. One of the most powerful books I know for understanding the personal self. How we got put together, conditioning, programming, projections, all of that. Highly recommended. The Presence Process by Michael Brown. I went through it 4 different times, 6 months apart. Read it. Wow, blew my mind. Didn't put it back on the shelf. Left it on the table. 4 months later, I went through it again. Blew open again. 4 months later, did it again. 4 months later, did it again. And every time, I became more self-aware. I want to give an analogy here that might be helpful. What we're talking about is recognizing, understanding all the different parts of ourselves. There's no way you're going to be able to navigate something if you don't know all the different parts of what you're navigating. So if I was a mountain guide and somebody came to me and said, I want to climb that mountain, I'd say, whoa, all right, maybe I should teach you about, have you ever been on a mountain? Well, I've dabbled, I've hiked. It's like, oh, you want to climb a summit. You want to go for a summit. Okay, let me teach you about a mountain. Do you know about things called crevasses? Oh, no, I don't. What are those? Oh, well, good thing I'm going to tell you about crevasses, because you can fall in them and you'll die. And how do I get across a crevasse? Well, you put an aluminum ladder across. Well, how do you keep that from falling in the crevasse? Well, I got to teach you about how to set anchors. Okay, now we've done that. Now we're up on the ice wall, and I got to teach you about crampons and ice axes and how to use those. And then you look over and you go, God, this is hard. Why don't we just climb over there? Look at that big, nice snowy field. We should just go climb over there. And the guide goes over there. Wait, what, are you kidding? That's avalanche danger. Oh, that's right. You don't know about avalanches. Let me teach you about avalanches. Let me teach you about what it's going to be like at 17,000 feet, at 20,000 feet. What if a storm comes in? Oh, I don't know. What do I do? Oh, let me teach you about that. So to really navigate our full dimensionality, to go on this journey of self through this journey of life, is to study deeply into all the different dynamics of ourselves and to stay with it. And as Jamie said, to marinate, study something. If you listen to a teacher, I do this all the time. I'll listen to one of my teachers, Rupert Spira, for instance, and I'll listen to I might take a bath and listen to a teaching of his. And then I go and I find one thing in the teaching. I go, ooh, that helps. Hold on, that's got to sink in deeper. And I will go sit and I will marinate on that for a week, maybe a month. until I really understand it and how it applies to me. That's the power of journaling. How does it apply to me? How does this actually apply? So the study is the study of self and all the different dynamics of ourselves.
Hi,
Alicia has a
Alicia.
question. Yeah.
So when I marinate, sometimes like I'll be on track, I'll be positive, and then it starts getting to the self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to get myself back in that moment?
That goes to our next topic, which is allowing, and we'll go
Okay.
into that. But before we do that, study the self sabotage.
Hmm. Okay.
Study the self. Who is that? How old is it? What you is stepping up and saying, this doesn't feel safe to me? Is it your 10-year-old, your 7-year-old, your 5-year-old? Because no matter, I'm 61. When I'm in a place of limiting myself, it's not the 61-year-old is doing it. It's my 15-year-old or my 12-year-old. It's some part of me that is unhealed and unresolved and still is afraid. And a situation in life comes up, and that young self goes, well, this is where I say no. This is where I say, I'm afraid. We cannot move forward. So, okay, let me study that through working with a guide, through maybe breath work, through meditation, through journaling, through a plant medicine journey, but specifically looking and saying, what is that? Who is that? What is the pain? What is the fear? Does that make sense?
Yes, that really supports me. Thank you, Jess.
Absolutely. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Alicia. All right. We do have to jump in. I mean, again, we could talk forever about all of these. So the next foundation is allowing. That's become the most pivotal word in my work, in my engagement with myself, with my clients, with my family, with anyone who we're navigating the life. Allowing, to be in a state of recognizing that what is happening. Let me put it this way. There's a wonderful phrase that says, what is happening? No, pardon me. What is what is happening just before you have a thought about it. What is what is happening just before you have a thought about it. And as soon as you have a thought about it, it's no longer what is, it's now your interpretation that is just run through your entire filtering mechanism of your programming and your conditioning and your stories. To allow that life does all manner of things, and to externally and internally. So to allow, there's that self-sabotage. There it is. And instead of fighting it, being wanting to make it go away, go away, go away, go away. And it's like, all right, but I'll be back. It's allowing, this beautiful state of allowing. That becomes easier when we come to recognize ourselves as this is kind of expansive here, but when we come to recognize ourselves as the consciousness beyond the personal experience, then the consciousness, which is pure awareness, which is what Ram Dass called unconditional loving awareness, can recognize that there's a part of my story, there's a part of my conditioning that wants to be healed, which means it wants to be met and it wants to be loved. So I would leave you with this. Treat everything as a child that you love. And if a child came to you and said, oh, I'm too scared to do this, you wouldn't say, well, stop being scared. Don't talk to me until you're not scared anymore. say, oh, baby, tell me. I'm allowing you to be scared. I'm allowing you to be uncertain. I'm allowing you to be confused. And I'm going to meet you in that space with love. Rupert Spira, beautiful teacher, he's allowing is not an activity of mind. It is the very nature of our being. At our highest consciousness, in the true nature of love, which we are, allowing just is. It just does. We can still set boundaries. We can still say no to things and say, no, you don't get to treat me like that. But we don't need to be at war. We don't have to have drama. Imagine going through life just simply allowing, wow, I'm allowing that you're like that. I'm allowing that this is a condition of life. And I'm going to do some things about it, or I'm going to choose something else. But I don't have to go to war. So allowing is a very spacious space. It's one of the most powerful things we can do to allow our own growth and allow ourselves to walk in a world that is scary and is uncertain and is often unkind. Jamie, something to add to that?
I'm so good. My whole body responds to everything that you're saying because it's been so real for me. The allowing has, for me, a simultaneous embrace. For me, allowing is like embracing. And when I think embracing, I mean like reaching out and just hugging where I am, which has made it only possible to heal what I have healed. Because in order to heal, in order to become radically honest, meeting that stuff, meeting the dysfunctions, meeting the different parts of my stories and going, oh, wow, that's what I've chosen. That's what I've been up until this part. Hugging that has been the only way to actually be with it. Because the ego says, oh God, what I find? Oh, push it. Oh, that's disgusting. Because sometimes it could be so difficult what we do discover about ourselves in this path. Because I don't know that it's not actually me yet. Remember, I spent my whole life thinking that the stories were me. We spend our whole lives thinking that the beliefs that are so natural to us are actually us, and they're not. The beliefs are not us. And whenever we find out that we've hurt somebody or my behavior has been here for this, oh man, I'm still doing the same cycle, the same pattern. Wow. When I'm that honest with myself, can I hug that moment? Can I embrace the breakdown? Can I allow the tears? Can I allow the disorder? Can I make room for it and embrace it like, oh, thank you. Thank you for showing me where I need to heal. Thank you for showing me what wasn't working. Thank you for showing me that this relationship wasn't meant to last. Thank you for showing me that I wasn't meant to be here in this job. Thank you. And that embracing, that allowing right there makes it easier for us to meet our demons, to meet our dark parts, to meet the stuff that we said, I'm good. I don't want to see that because that scares the shit out of me when I do. So I'm going to give it a hug and I'm going to stay with this. I've been crying for an hour. I think that's good enough. No. Keep going. Well, I've been in a breakdown for 5 days. Why? When is this going to be done? When it's done.
When it's done.
When it's done. Well, I've been working on my dad wounds for 4 years now. Why are they still here? Because they are. Because they are. And it's meeting all those messy moments, those contentious, the tension. It's the tension of life. That's what I like to call it. It's when life gets tense. What happens when I just allow it to be tense? What's for me in the tense moment? is what gives way to what comes out of it. It's what gives way to what's beyond it, which is what we're here for, is to find out what's beyond that, which is amazing. Chess, any other thoughts?
I want to share real quick. Can you see that?
Oh, this is so good.
This is two rivers coming together. The clear river is who we actually are. Consciousness, love, preconditioned self, pre-programmed, before the stories, before the traumas, before the conditioning and programming, we are love. And notice that it is not rejecting the cloudiness of the mind, the cloudiness of the conditioning. It is welcoming it. And yes, come this room, there's space. Keep coming, you will disappear into me. The invitation here is to stop disappearing into your stories and let your stories disappear into you.
Mm.
So that's a beautiful reminder to do our work, to keep coming back into our wholeness so that we can welcome the limited stories of self. They're just stories. And I know that's a trite maybe thing to say. They're just stories. They seem so real. But when you lay your head down on the pillow at night and you drift into a dream and you're being chased by a tiger, you're not really being chased by a tiger. But when you're in the dream, man, it seems like you really are. And you have lost complete awareness of the head laying on the pillow. This is the value of awakening into our wholeness, is to remember that we are the head laying on the pillow, just having different dreams about self. All right. We do have to move on to the next topic because we knew this was going to happen. We're going to run out of time here.
I like what you said, Ralph, and the mixing up the turbulence, right? Because that's the turbulence where they meet. It must happen. Yes.
Yeah.
What it does,
Yeah.
it must happen. Oh, that's so good. Amazing. So from allowing, when we do allow, when we take up the principle, when we practice the principle of allowing, we'd start to deepen our practice. We deepen our space of self-awareness. We deepen our discovery of what we find. It's no longer a 5-minute noticing. It's now an awareness to everything in my life. It's no longer just about the story, but I got to look around and I go, wait a second, why am I eating what I'm eating if this is hurting me? Why am I here if this is not for me? Why do I do this if that's not in the direction of where I want to go? I start to awaken in the present, in the practice of allowing. And so that leads us to our next principle, which is practice. Practice. When I let myself allow, when I allow allowing in my life, I become so aware and in tune to what's not working.
Yeah, because you're not pushing anything away.
Because you're not pushing it away. And that's not an invitation to sit there and just beat the crap out of yourself for what you find. But it is an invitation to upgrade your practices, to upgrade. In fact, we must upgrade our practices in order to expand into the next level of life. We have to. This is not even like a should. It's not a you ought to. We must. We cannot move into that radical up-leveling that we're asking for, that radical expansion. I can't get to know all of who I am unless I upgrade my practices too. These are the practices that are going to get you connected to yourself over and over again when you're in your distractions, when you're in the drama, when you're in your workspace, when you're caught up in the to-do list, when you're in the task list, when you're in comparison, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what I'm up to here. How often do you journal? How often do you exercise? How often do you meditate? Is there breath work? Is there movement? Do you spend time in nature? How often are you still? These practices are what create the discipline that's required for us to create total freedom. I used to have a rebellious relationship with discipline. How dare you tell me what to do and when? And that's not on my time. Well, that didn't work at all, because through discipline, I actually got what I wanted. Interesting. So you mean to tell me when I practice all of these things at a level of discipline, my life gets better and I get freer? What? What a weird concept. But at that point in life where you're right on the edge, your growth edge, what Chess was talking about earlier, where you're like pushing right on the edge and going like, I'm ready for my next thing. God, I'm ready for my next thing. Yeah. Where are the practices to go with it? They cannot be a suggestion at that point. They have to be a must. And you will see the proportion of your progress to the proportion of your practice. Practice and progress are completely proportionate. And you're either going to gradually get more comfortable in your practice, or you're going to commit over and over again as many times as it takes. And this is not, once again, practice is not perfection. It is a discipline to the process. And am I making this a priority in my life? I make Starbucks a priority. What about meditation? I make social media a priority. What about my breath work? What about 15 minutes of that? What about 10 minutes of that? Think about all the different things that I am making a priority instead of my practices, and I will see where I am withholding progression in my life. Chess, did you have anything to add to that?
This is a nuance, but where we don't take full advantage of our practices is we often don't take the time to really relate, marinate, if you will, in how does this help me know myself better? Like we'll often we'll journal, we'll do our yoga, we'll meditate, we'll do our breath work, and oftentimes we don't take the time to really sink into what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
What just happened? Wait, whoa! What does this mean to me, to my evolution, to my growth, to my edge that I'm working? To take that time to really be contemplative around how our practice, what just came out of a meditation. Okay, now I'm just going to go on to the next thing, but to really sit with, wait, what? How does that actually impact my evolution? That's huge. So that's a key component, to take any practice and apply it very consciously with extra time. It's like you add an extra 5 minutes to any practice that says, wait, now what just happened? And how is this going to actually impact my meeting tomorrow, my relationship with my kids, my relationship to myself? So that's key. I do want to, in that vein, because meditation is my background, again, where a lot of people miss the mark in meditation is they come into a deep stillness, perhaps, and they don't name it as that's me. That's huge. That's a whole different thing, to come into a stillness, a spaciousness, a love. And we think it's a temporary experience that happens in meditation. Oh, I just had an experience. To name it, to take the time to rewire the mind, to rewire the brain with a naming of, oh my God, that stillness, that's me. That's the vastness. That's the boundless nature of love. And that's me. That's probably the deepest and longest, almost ongoing practice I have is throughout my day, I keep remembering truth and I keep saying, and that's me. I am that. I am that. I am that. And man, I've been doing this a long time. I still have to practice throughout my day. What is going on? What is consciousness? Oh, I am that. So apply your practice to yourself with real mindfulness and contemplation. Yeah. All right.
Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot, rock on, brother.
Okay. All right, let's see if I can articulate this well. So, ever since we had our session in November, I have had a steady diet of meditation every day and taking the time afterward to be contemplative, to feel what's going on with me. How am I perceiving things? How am I feeling? How am I being led through love as opposed to what I can think? And you said, Chess, when we were sitting on top of Thunder Mountain last year, you gave me this analogy of a movie screen. A movie screen, it doesn't matter what's being projected onto it, whether it's a horror movie or a comedy or whatever, the screen doesn't change. And that is what I should be striving for. Part of my meditative practice helps me with that because I get triggered pretty easily because a lot of things in my life and past trauma and so on, you name it. Just recently, I got triggered. I got really triggered by something my wife said to me. And it was at a time where I had allowed circumstances in my life to take me away from prioritizing my time of peace and breath work. And so this is maybe 3 days where I got out of practice, where I was, I got up and typically I would pray, I'd meditate, and I'd go through my process and get centered and oriented as I go through the day. But for these 3 days, I didn't. And she said something that was innocuous to me, but in that moment of lack of practice or persistence, I got triggered, and I was not that movie screen. I was
Yeah,
just, I just,
you were back in the dream. You had fallen asleep back into the dream.
absolutely. And so the residual feeling after that trigger and my mini explosion was deep, intense guilt. And it almost felt like all of that good work, all of that goodwill, all of that advancement that I had experienced was just wiped away, and I'm back at zero again. And I felt terrible. And I had to go on this apologizing tour and all of it. And I just felt bad to the extent that I carried that. This happened last week. I still have that remnant that is just looming somewhere in my psyche or in my spirit, and it just feels horrible. And so I struggle with that. And so I'm going to stop and just see what thoughts or comments you have on that.
I think this will land for you very quickly. Who feels guilty? What version of you feels guilty?
That lands.
Does the movie screen feel guilty?
My ego does.
The egoic self, the self, the limited personal self feels guilty. Understandable, but there it is. And what is aware of that?
I'm aware of it.
Whose I? Which I?
I would say the real I, the true I.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for me to still decouple the I that I've built up over the years from the true I. And I think that's, if I'm being honest, that's where I am on my journey at this point.
Patient. 5 to 10 years, my friend. Yes, the decoupling,
Yeah.
but because you have started, because you recognize there is a difference between the egoic story of guilt, it doesn't mean you don't apologize. It doesn't mean you say, look, I said things and I reacted in ways and there's apologies to be made, but I don't need to feel guilty about it. I just need to feel apologetic about it and honest in that moment. The guilt is a storyline. And what is aware of that is the clear side of the river going, all right, so there's the guilt. So where did I learn that? Study. Where did I learn that? So patience, study, and just keep doing your work and just keep separating those out, separating those out, separating those out.
Thank you.
Good work. Thank you, brother. What Elliot's been speaking to is devotion. It brings us to the next topic here. The most important question I was ever asked by a teacher is, to what are you devoted? I don't know. He goes, yeah, that's usually the answer. I want to speak briefly about devotion, actually. And it's a question I invite everyone to explore and journal about and feel into, and recognize that that answer may not come for months. The question is to what is so important in your life that if it was taken away, life would no longer make sense. I'm devoted to this project. All right, but the projects come, projects go. What is the project in service to? I'll tell you a brief little story. I was sitting with a teacher of mine in Nevada for a week of meditation. And about midway through, I just got it. I just emptied of the egoic identity. And I was in full devotion, in service to truth, to the divine, to knowing it, to embodying it, to loving, being that love, to living as that. That was it. That was my devotion. I'm devoted to living as truth and sharing it as much as I can. 6 hours later, I got a text that changed my life. Gave me a job offer that changed my trajectory in life. Everything has changed. Everything I'm doing now in my life was pivotal upon that moment of devotion. And that devotion has been with me ever since. So I just invite you to feel into, to what are you devoted? Because in that moment, I realized I'm no longer devoted to satisfying the comfort of my ego. I'm no longer devoted to satisfying the fear of my story. It's there, but I'm not devoted to satisfying that, to doing all the things I might do, addictions and avoidances and denials in service to that, to the comfort of my story. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm devoted to awakening into the wholeness of being. So that's the invitation to look and then ask yourself, if another way to think about it is, what's the one thing that must remain in your life? That if it was taken away, your life would no longer have meaning. Your life would feel like, I've just lost my way. I don't have anything really. We can be devoted to family, but family might even come and go. To what are you devoted? So that's a question I'll put out there for today. Jamie?
I think the way you simply express that is very powerful. And to only add what could be a question in this space is, what happens in the meantime? What happens in the meantime? If I don't yet Identify it. What happens? We have commitments and dedications. We have commitments and dedications in the meantime. If I don't know what it is that I'm committed and dedicated to in this moment, that's part of the process too, in exposing my devotion. Exposing my devotion is a process that often, what Chess is referring to, I sometimes will arrive into that space through my commitments and my dedications. Through them. And so it's not to say, oh my God, I don't know what my devotion is. And what if it takes me 5 years? What if it takes me? What if it doesn't take you that long? And what if you're in service to your next commitment? What if you're in service to your next dedication? And then continue to ask that question, what Chess said. If this were go away, if what I'm in service to right now, this commitment right here would go away, what is it that I was after? What is it that I was truly after in this commitment? What was this commitment really about?
What was the commitment serving?
What was the commitment serving? And that's in that answer that will be like the puzzle piece of what becomes your life devotion. For me, that was that piece by piece process where I've arrived at, everything I do is in service to self-mastery and to offering self-mastery in the world, to guiding others into self-mastery. Everything I do is in service to that. It doesn't matter if it's with my son, my mom, if I get contracted somewhere, it doesn't matter. Because my question is, how am I employing self-mastery? How am I practicing my mastery, and how am I adding mastery into the space? How am I adding mastery for others? Because it's going to be in service.
Take a moment. I'm just curious to give yourself a moment, Jamie, and imagine if that self-mastery, if you had no connection to it, if suddenly it was gone, it just wasn't there. Would your life have, it feels like you just kind of.
I'd poof.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd poof.
Okay. So
I'd be okay that I poof, but I'd poof.
Yeah, exactly. So really feel into you'll know if it's a devotion, because you'll ask yourself the question, if this was removed from my life, I had no connection to it, would my life make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right.
Which brings us to the next one, because whether it is your devotion or your commitment or your dedication, there's always what serves even that. What serves my devotion? What is going to frame my purpose, my dedications, my commitments? What is going to hold this together so that no matter what I face in life, I can continue on the path? And a lot of the time you're going to hear what's called self-care, self-love, because I can be in dedication and in service, but all of a sudden I'm not taking care of myself, and now I'm out of my dedication. Not that I remove my devotion, but now I can't serve my devotion. So what we need is nourishment. This is the principle. Nourishment, or holistic balance, some people would offer. What I do to nourish myself is nourishing my devotion, nourishing my purpose, nourishing how I show up for others. This is going to look beyond what it is that simply I am eating. This is a whole nother consciousness that says, is what's in my glass right now, is this going to support me in moving throughout my day? And do I even take the time to ask myself, or am I just in my automatics? Am I nourishing myself in this conversation? Why am I here in this conversation? This conversation is about gossip. Is this nourishing to me? This movie that I watched 10 years ago, and I'm watching it again, and I don't quite feel the same way because I was a different person back then, and this doesn't feel good. Is this nourishing? I had that moment last week where an old consciousness of me watched a movie called, like, it was a remake of The Witches or something like that. And I got halfway through this film and I was like, why am I watching this? I felt like I felt muddy. And it took me halfway through, and still, even an old program, I was like, well, you have to complete it. And so I fast forwarded it. And it was in that moment where I was like, wow, thank you for showing me where we are not anymore, Jamie. Thank you for showing me. And this goes back to what you were talking about, Elliot, in the contrast. Contrast will serve us to know what is actually for us. Because that was not a nourishing film for me. And I felt that. And so now I know what will not nourish me and what will nourish me. It's conversation, it's my friends, it's my physical practices, it's the food going in my mouth. It becomes less about the particular diet that I'm on and more about, so this food, this is going to serve me for today. Like this, what I'm putting in my mouth right now is going to power me today. Whoa. What's in this? What am I putting in my body that's going to power me? That's a totally different consciousness that we have, where we can no longer sit in specific conversations because I'm going, this is not nourishing. And it doesn't mean that I sit there and I separate myself from every person. It simply means that I create boundaries around conversation. Maybe I'm the person that now goes into that environment and I go, I get to flip the switch here. I get to add into this space. I get to be the person to flip this conversation into something nourishing. Because the ego needs nourishment too. You guys hear that? We're not sitting there going like, F the ego, goodbye the ego, but our ego and that personal self needs to be nourished too.
Because the ego can actually serve devotion.
Correct. Any thoughts on that, Chess?
Yeah, the ego can serve. That's a beautiful point, Jamie, because the ego can serve devotion. It's simply letting the ego not drive anymore. Just saying, look, you're who was it? Who wrote Eat, Pray, Love? Elizabeth Gilbert.
Gilbert, yeah.
She was like, look, the egos, you can hang, you can be in the back seat. You just can't drive. You can't navigate. You can't touch the radio. So we recognize that we have an egoic self. We have a sense of personal self. Live in this world of form. Yeah, we've got that. But let's have that be in service to the devotion. If there's no devotion, then it's going to say, well, then I guess I'm serving me. And it's going to serve itself, and it's going to overeat, and it's going to do things to get loved and do things to belong and stay out later than it should because I don't want my friends to think badly of me that, I'm going home early. A quick little story. I saw a bunch of college buddies once many years ago, and we hadn't seen each other in a long time. Around 10 o'clock in the evening, they were off to the next club or whatever. And I said, I'm going to go home. I'm done. Thank you, guys. It's been so good to see you guys. I'm going home. And they gave me a bunch of shit for it and said, yeah, come on, man. I said, no, I've got my meditations in the morning and I get to bed early these days because I'm getting up at like 5 o'clock every morning. And part of practice is to be aware of our evening and our morning routines, our evening and our morning practices. And so they gave me a little grief. The next day, I got a phone call from one of those guys. And he was like, so tell me about this meditation thing. It was like, because I followed my truth, my devotion, he recognized, wait a minute, I think I want more of that in my life. I'm just consuming life right now. We live in a world of material reductionism. We've reduced worlds to the material experience, to the conditions of life, and we've forgotten our spiritual nature. And that's where we find our devotion. So devotion then will lead to the nourishment. Your home, is your home nourishing to your soul, to your soul's purpose, to your soul's love, to the way love moves through you? Are your relationships nourishing to that? The media, social media, addictions, time in nature, the music you listen to really look at everything and say, why not put the extra effort into making sure that I live in a nourishing environment and life so that my devotion is nourished? Yeah. Okay.
That's beautiful.
So another journaling opportunity. All these are great journaling opportunities. I'm going to give you a real quick journaling exercise that is really handy. You take a blank piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. Top of the left column, you write more/embrace. And top of the right column, you write less/let go. And it's a wonderful way to start a journaling practice, to look at what wants to fill each column. Who do I want to be more of today? What do I want more of? Not just externally. I want more money, or I want more adventure, although that's a good one. Who do I want to be more of? What do I want to embrace within my own personal experience? What do I want to let go of? What do I want less of? And then whatever those, and one column will kind of feed the other column. And then as you go through that, any one of those can lead to a journal exercise. Any one of those can lead to some journaling. Well, if I want more of that, then what would I need to do? And what's getting in the way of it currently? Oh, interesting. How am I not doing that? So a wonderful journaling exercise is the more and less exercise you can start your day with. All right, time. We do have to jump in. Oh, this is such good work. I want to talk about manifestation. Manifestation is a beautiful, powerful tool. And let's just be clear. You're always manifesting your life. We are always manifesting our lives. We are either manifesting our lives through a small, limited filter of self, of our story, our doubts, our insecurities, our uncertainties, or we are manifesting our life as who we really are, a vast, spacious, boundless expression of one love. As consciousness, which is what we are, moving through a consciousness expressed through a soul, traveling through a vehicle called the personal self. Personal self is just a vehicle for the soulful expression of love. The person is just a vehicle for the soulful expression of love, and your soulful expression is unique to you, and it's perfect. As consciousness, which is the highest nature of what we are, is there anything that consciousness can't create? Look around. Look around. Look at what consciousness creates. Oh my God. Just endless. And you are consciousness. So you have that creative power. So manifestation is the power to create from a spacious knowing of self. And what you're doing is you are naming what already is. It's just not in form yet. Got an iPhone right here. This iPhone was once in Steve Jobs' mind, and it wasn't in form yet. But as soon as he imagined it, it existed. The moment he imagined it, it existed. So imagine, and the power of manifestation is imagine how you want life to Use all your senses, how you want it to feel, smell, sound like, maybe taste like. You can manifest financial abundance by imagining the smell of money. Money has a certain smell to it. Manifesting is allowing yourself to imagine, because as soon as you imagine, then it is already present. Imagine the life you are creating through how it looks, how it tastes, how it smells, how it. You might imagine a new house that you're manifesting, and what does the texture of the wood feel like? What does the texture of the furniture feel like? What does the light look like coming through the windows? How does it feel? Is it spacious? Is it open? Is it loving? The key to manifestation is you don't manifest toward something. You manifest from something. I am living in this house with this kind of light, with this kind of texture, with this kind of feeling. I am. It is. I am, and it is. You don't manifest toward, well, I've manifested toward that'll happen someday. No. Feel it as it is, and then let the world form around that feeling. It's like tuning forks. You get at the tuning fork operating at a certain vibration, and life will start to match that same vibration. We have the power to manifest, and we have to do it regularly. I still manifest almost every day, and part of my meditation is just part of my meditation. Take a few minutes. I am. And I play with the life that is, and it's just coming into form now. And sure enough, my life is matching that manifestation. So manifestation is a powerful tool. Neville Goddard, if you want to really read about manifestation, Neville Goddard, Goddard, is a beautiful writer. His whole world was around manifestation. Is where I've learned most of the practice of manifestation. Jamie, anything on top of that?
One thing I want to add, because it's important to know why I continue to manifest what I do. Emotionally, we are vibrating a frequency of attraction. Thoughts vibrate, emotions vibrate. So if you think about the thing that you were constantly in the emotions of, that is what it has continued to manifest. So as chess informs and reminds us that imagination is how we manifest differently. Through the visualization of that, practiced often, not just in a single meditation. Do I do it when I wake up? Do I do it while I'm making my coffee? Am I imagining in the shower? Am I imagining before I go to bed? Because when I practice that imagination, what occurs is what has occurred for us every time we practice thoughts over and over again.
Yeah.
I get an emotional experience. That's all that emotions are, is an emotional experience, because I practice thoughts over and over again. And now I'm emotionally creating the thoughts, and that emotion is now my experience. So in the same way that I unconsciously constructed my life through practicing the thought to emotions, I can do the same thing through manifestation. And so the thoughts that create my emotions, am I visualizing it to the point where I feel like I'm actually in it? That's the practice. I can employ my imagination, which, by the way, if you struggle with that, are you giving yourself full permission to imagine? So many of us have given up imagining or thinking that things are possible for us. And if I do that, I shut down my imagination. And if I shut down my imagination, I cannot imagine the life that was dreamt up for me before I even came here. So
Which
get
is,
practice.
and it's important to not, so I don't manifest as chess.
Mm-mm.
I start with remembering who I am as consciousness. There's nothing that cannot be created. Chess is the vehicle, but truly I am consciousness. And consciousness says, I am a well-respected and sought-after source of awakened living. That's consciousness saying, I get to shape myself however I want through this chess character. So it already is. It is. I am. It is. I live in this house. I have this relationship. My work is. It's always is. It's not someday. It is because, again, as soon as that appeared in Steve Jobs' mind, it existed. He just needed to bring it into form.
And this is the same thing. If you see a version of yourself, if you see a part of you in some unknown future, or you're like, oh, wow, I look this way and I act that way, or I saw my future, whatever, my relationship, or I saw me on stage, or I saw me writing a book, or I saw me on a mountain. You saw you. Like, let that be okay that you didn't see a fantasy, you saw you. You saw a version of you that already exists.
Yeah.
Because the mind will want to tell you someday because it doesn't relate to the character that is that version of you, but it's you. So when he said, manifest from the end in mind, when you see that life and you are inspired by it, when you're inspired by who you look like in that vision, what that vision is, that relationship, whatever it is, claim it.
Mm-hmm.
Claim it. Just put a stamp on it and be like, yep, that's me and that's mine. I can't.
We're all messed up by the illusion of time. Because like you said, Jamie, as soon as you see that character, it is. It is. And you're like, no, that's future. No. It is. Yeah.
It's now. And what's in between us and the manifesting process of that is me claiming it and declaring it and holding it like it is.
Yeah.
That's what keeps it so far away, especially Sherry, to what you were talking about. Sometimes I'm like, well, maybe one day if I just see it and I go, no, this is me now, then my life starts to shape in service to what I see. So do I give my time to that vision, or do I just went off it in that daydream? Take that daydream, actually claim it like it's truth, like it's real. You got excited by it. Why would you not want to be in that anyway? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And you vibrated that energy, and then life will match it. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. Vibrate at that energy and life will match it.
Absolutely. And then when you're in that what you manifested, guess what's going to happen? You're going to imagine again, and you're going to imagine again, and you're going to imagine again. And that's expansion, constantly going like, oh my God, I never thought I would be here. Because you became somebody new. And as you became somebody new, you became aware of more than you ever knew before. And now you can imagine more than you ever have. And so that process goes on. So this is vital. All of these principles are vital to our expansion. They're vital especially if you are asking for a radical shift in your life, a radical up level, not the kind when you're saying, maybe one day I'll try this on. These principles are what gets you a whole different life in 6 months. Watch how quickly your life shifts because you employ these practices and principles. which leads us to our last one. If I do this alone, God bless you.
Yeah. Elliot's on the manifestation train. Right on.
Yes.
So we're going to take 5 minutes for this last one, and then we're going to speak to you or share with you an opportunity for stepping into this in a sustained and very integrated way. So, Jamie, what's the dynamic of support community?
So the dynamic is, I can't see my own eyeballs. Let's just start there. I can't see what I don't know about me. That's the first thing, is that the value of support and the value of doing this work with a community, a tribe, a coach, a guide, a group of people that are all in the same direction. The first value is accountability. It's accountability. That means if I start speaking small of myself, the person next to me in my tribe is going, we don't do that story anymore. I have that accountability to say, you know what? This is what I'm up to. How can I get support? How can we support you? And understanding that to expand rapidly, we must employ support. We must be willing to give and receive support and be in a community with each other. Because otherwise I become a product of my environment. How many of you guys heard of that? You were a product of our environment? Anybody heard that? Yeah. Yeah, that is exactly why this is vital, that we be in an environment with like-minded people going in the same direction, in the same service. Whatever that means. If that's business and you're in business, go to the business group. If you're in self-mastery, go to the self-mastery group. If you're in spirituality, go to the spirituality group. Why? Because we're all going in the same direction. We want aligned and resonant friends. Aligned and resonant friends. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to agree. That's not about agreement, but we're all aligned together. Another value is that in this particular work, why you're here in this particular webinar is because it requires that we be vulnerable. Vulnerability is required in this journey. And when I have the support system that is safe, that is non-judgmental, that accepts and embraces, when I have people that I can show me all of me too, and be in that vulnerability, that is crucial for me to expand into the next version of myself. It's crucial because when we trap that, when I'm in the presence of just myself, sometimes my ego goes, we're not going there. We don't go there. We don't do that whole vulnerability thing. Why? Why would I need to do that? Power of community is the request to be seen. It's the request to be heard. It's the request to show up as you are. And in doing so, now we're on exponential pathway. Now we're all journeying together at the speed of light because we're all in service to the same goal. And it's really, really powerful in that space of vulnerability to sit there and throw up your hands and say, I just don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Can somebody help? I don't know where to go from here. Can somebody help? I don't know what I'm doing right now. I want to know what I'm doing. And about 3-4 people show up and they go, I'm here for you. Let's do this. We got this together. There's infinite number of reasons why needing a community for this work is not just vital, but it's mandatory to get to the next level. Because the egoic mind by itself is really redundant. Very, very redundant. and it will keep me as safe as it lets me go. Jess, do you have anything to add to that?
A vision just came up. I never thought about this before, but when you're talking about the multitudes coming together, and maybe it's because I just did some rewiring of my sound system. A single copper wire can only carry so much current. I wanted really good sound to come out of my speaker system. I got big, fat freaking wires, man, that have a whole bunch of strands of copper wires together. And more energy can move through that combination of intertwined beings. I love that. And it's so wild. Like Jamie's been talking about mastery. It's the art of living life. We treat this life is the most precious thing we have. Our trajectory, our path, our opportunities, our purpose, our sense of service, of contribution. And most of us are just winging it. Anybody who wants to master anything, like a gymnast who wants to learn how to do backflips with double twists on a 6-inch balance beam, would be crazy to say to her coach after 2 weeks, all right, I think I got this. I'm good. Like, no, anybody who's endeavoring to really master anything is working with a teacher, is working with a guide, is working with a community, is investing in themselves. When Jamie and I met, it was through a program that was the biggest investment I had ever made in a single program. It was for a 4-month program. And there was something in me that went, yes, absolute yes. And I invested, and the part of me went, okay, well, shit, there goes that 10 grand, you know? And I realized I picked up one extra client in my life. If I picked up one extra client, that was going to pay itself back. Are we invested in our devotion? Are we invested to be of service in this give and take, in this free flow of energy exchange in life? I need to invest in myself so that I could fully participate, and it's going to come back. It just does tenfold, 20-fold. And I can't imagine that on my deathbed, I'd be saying, wow, that was a beautiful life, but damn it, I'm still 10 grand shy, man. I just, like, that isn't going to happen. So investing in ourselves, investing in community, being vulnerable, giving ourselves that opportunity to empower ourselves and others and to serve through investment in ourselves is powerful and mandatory, vital. So these 8 core arenas that we've been speaking about: patience, study, practice, devotion, nourishing ourselves, consciously manifesting our lives, reaching out and finding the support we need and offering the support we have to energize every part of our lives, gives us the opportunity to live this life at our full potential and to take full advantage of this play, this curriculum, this opportunity for our souls to evolve, for our souls to continue to evolve and grow and come closer and closer back to their original source of love. Unlimited, vast, boundless love that could do anything. And who's getting in the way? This little ego mind. So we have an offer for you. Jamie and I we're super excited about this. We have put together a program that is only available to 12 people. It's got to be small because it's got to be intimate. And it's a year-long engagement. of holding in this, that continue these conversations, to deepen in the conversations, to stay in the integration, to get kind of reeled back in when we're wandering, when we get lost. And the journey is a 4-retreat journey here in Sedona, 4 different retreats every 3 months, to come back with the same group of people and work with Jamie and I and yourself and the other people as a team, as a cohort, to radically move our lives forward, to let go of what we need to let go, to let in what we want to let in, to continually expand and drop the limitations of our stories. 4 retreats here in Sedona, 4-day retreats. And the centerpiece of each retreat is an incredibly, beautifully, professionally, and artfully guided psychedelic journey. Jamie and I are becoming quite masterful in the use of different psychedelics in crafting an experience that fully opens us up, drops us out of the mind into the heart, into the spaciousness of our own being. And then in between those journeys, the group comes together on Zoom once a month with deep dive integrations. What's happening? What edge are you meeting? Where are you finding yourself lost along the way? How can we support you? How can we keep all of ourselves in this deep and expansive journey? So that's coming up. What else, Jamie, around that are you excited about that helps flesh out the experience?
I think I'm most excited about the deepening. In a process like this one, and I've had different parts of what this program is. I've had a singular psychedelic experience. I've had a retreat. I've had a 6-month training with a leadership group. I've had all these different components, but never in the same place. And I've never seen it done where a psychedelic experience with principles, with support, with guidance, with coaching, with all of these different ways of intimacy building, vulnerability building, deepening, all in service to how we then go show up in the world. How do we go then? How do we take all of this and then go show up in the world? How do we expand our offering here? How do we have a stronger presence? How do we align ourselves with our intention? You know, a lot of you guys said here, like, this is what I want to do. I want to heal myself so I can help heal others. I heard service, 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 service. And that's what we're in service to. Jess and I designed this with people in service in mind. We said, we know that when people get to the point where they are expanding into their next version of themselves, what comes in our spiritual need is, how do we contribute this? How do we give? How do I be so aligned with my purpose and shed the stories? Just one by one, shed the stories. And as I get the insights, go, yes, now I'm going to act. Yes, now I'm going to act. And then when I get scared, where's my group? Where's my group? Where's the reminders? Where am I going back to? Right, I need to stay in the conversation. I need to stay in the conversation. And that's what I get excited about, is that all of those things are in this container. They're here. And so I'm like, I built my dream program. Like, that's what I feel like we did, Jess, is I'm like, oh my God, the dream program. So that's to me why it's exciting.
I did, part of the biggest part of my growth was I worked with a group that had a similar sense to it. Same people generally would come together 3 or 4 times a year. I don't remember it right now, but 4 different psychedelic experiences to help me understand, drop out of the mind and into a different knowing of starting to understand self. That group only dealt with personal development. There was no spirituality to it, which was interesting. It was only around understanding wounding and that's your dad's shit, that's not yours, and things like that. Very helpful. But the problem was, it was a Friday evening. We'd get together Friday afternoon. It would go through Friday evening, and then we'd do a Saturday morning integration, and then that was it. And we'd come together 4 months later and do it again. There was no holding in between. There was no deepening in between. There was no integration that kept deepening in the integration in between. Also, it was a short experience. And what we've put together is come to Sedona, have a full day of workshop, retreat, experience, have a second day of being out on the land and really working with your intentions with the group around what this journey is going to be about for you. And then doing the ceremony. And then the next day, an entire day of integration, an entire day of more ceremony and integration and conversation and deepening into the experience. That is a experience that really has some roots to it and it really has some depth to it. So that's why we created it. And that's what we're super excited about. You're going to receive a email after the retreat or after the webinar, giving you a link to more information about the program. Couple of things to know. One is we have an offer on that program that is only available through midnight on the 19th. We are creating a limited time opportunity to submit an application to be part of one of those 12 people. An application isn't an obligation. It's not okay. You said yes, you're obligated. It's just allowing you to take advantage of the price offer we're offering to drop this program from its full price down to, we're offering $4,000 off on the program. And that's only available to those who submit an application before midnight on the 19th. Jamie and I have recently up-leveled that entire program. We had one offering. That's what's currently shown on the website. It's a great offering, but what is spelled out about what you get is very limited. That's going to be changing within the next month. So it's going to be fleshed out as here's everything you get: the accommodations, the meals, the rituals, the ceremonies, the integrations, the calls, the coaching. All of it is going to be really spelled out to justify the price of the program, because this is top level program for people who are really looking to take their work, their life, and apply it in a whole new way. And it is a pricey program, but I guarantee you take this work and you change your life in the ways that you can change it from this work, and it's a drop in the bucket. It's just that gets recouped immediately. So that is part of what the offer is, and it's coming your way. Lastly, we're offering another bonus offer, because this may not be for everybody. And we wanted to really reward your time for being with us here today. So Jamie and I are offering a 20% discount on anything that we offer. If you'd work with Jamie or I and you sign up for anything, book any session, any program that we offer, and you do that by the end of June, you're going to get 20% off that. And that offer is going to be also reflected in the email that you get, because we want to work with you. We want to work with anybody who's really interested in dropping their limitations and expanding into their full wholeness, their full dimensionality. So that's what we're offering, and that those offers will be coming in the emails following this. And you can reach out to Jamie and I as well and ask questions around that. Jamie, any additions to that?
I think you outlined it very precise, concise, and I'm really looking forward to us being able to send out like the full functionality of what it is that we're offering, because it's just so expansive and it's so comprehensive. So I'm excited about that. And it is it is just like, this is our devotion, you guys, is to be able to be in relationship with people who are committed to this process. It's our devotion. So even if you want to get on the phone and just connect with us, like, this, we're here. Your commitment is our devotion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would invite, go ahead and just fill out the application to be one of the 12 people. And even if you're like, yeah, I'm not sure, it doesn't matter. It invites you deeper into the conversation and you can feel into it. It's the first step of just saying maybe, and this might be possible. And what if? What if I actually did this? What if I made this part of my life? Could I make this next year of my life the most transformational year of my entire life? Could this be the year that everything shifted, everything changed? Because there was an intentional, loving, professional space held for me to be in community with other like-minded souls, and all of us had the same desire to get out of our way and to really, really offer our soulful purpose, our soulful love into the world and meet all the different parts of the ego self that are going to step up and go, whoa, that feels very threatening. That feels very scary. Let's just hold on there and keep playing small. To be able to meet all of that and meet it and meet it and meet it and love through it and keep expanding our lives into our full potential, our full possibility. Because that's what enlivens us. That's what our lives didn't used to be like. Oh man, all the fear we've had to go through to come to this place of honoring our truth has been, it's been hard. We've learned a lot along the way, and we really, really, really want to help anybody who's interested in facing those challenges and meeting their edges and help and love you through it. Just love you through it. Yeah, beautiful. All right, my friends. Any parting words, Jamie?
Just thank you. Thank you, and thank yourself. We're so honored to be here with you. We're honored to be in partnership and relationship with you. And it's a pleasure to be in your life this morning, and with such gratitude. It's always humbling. It's always humbling. So thank you.
Blessings, friends. Oh, so much love for all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being in your courage. And hopefully we'll keep on playing as we move forward. And whether there's more connection or not, may you absolutely know your wholeness and love yourself into it. And just meet all the muddiness along the way and allow it and love it. And keep doing your study and your practice with patience. Manifest the hell out of your life.
Yeah.
See you down the line. Thank you so much, all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Blessings. All right. And I think what I'll do here is I'll just open it. I've got a thing at 12:30, but we're going to leave this open for a few minutes. Anyone who's got any other questions or insights, please jump in, and we would just want to hold that space. And I'll get a little music going here. If I can remember how to do this. Share screen, advanced, share sound, computer audio, share, there, and music. Yay. So as you journal, as you just feel into this, feel into these opportunities, your own life.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. And no hell below us. And above us is only sky.
Oh, thank you.
Imagine all the
Thank you,
people
Alicia. Sherry,
living for
Chris,
today.
Karen, thank you all so much.
You may say that I'm
Yeah,
a
Sherry.
dreamer,
Go ahead and unmute.
but I'm not the only one.
I just
Oh, that
wanna
was a
say-
clapping. That wasn't a
Yeah.
hand raise. That was a
I
clapping.
hope
Yay!
someday
And this was
you'll
beautiful.
join
Thank you. I
us.
wish I lived closer to Sedona because I love it down
And the
there.
world will
It
live
is
as one.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It is.
I'm gonna really think about this, and
Imagine there's no country.
I just this was wonderful. Thank you.
We're here for you.
It isn't
Lot to think
hard
about.
to do.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
life
being
is
here.
life. Yeah, thank you.
Nothing.
And life is here for you. We show up for life. Life will show up for us.
No religion too.
It's my favorite version of this song.
Imagine all the
Jack Johnson.
people
Thank you, Karen. So good to have you here.
living life for peace. You and you may say that I'm a dreamer,
That's Jack Johnson.
but I am not the only one.
It's been a long road, hasn't it, Jamie?
I hope
The
someday
hell out of our own way and
you'll
continuing to
join
do so.
us,
I might be
and the
13 finally.
world will live as one.
I think I'm just moving. I'm just moving through adolescence.
Possessions. I wonder if you can.
Alicia, you queen, I love you. Thank you
No
so much
need
for
for
coming.
greed or hunger.
Love you, Alicia. Thank you.
A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You
Got a song
you
written
may
what,
say
30 years ago
that
at least.
I'm a dreamer,
So relevant today.
but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine there's no
It's on
heaven.
repeat. That's why I'm like, God, this song never ends. Thank you all. Love you,
Thank you,
Jimmy.
everyone. Mwah. Love you, Jess.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.